Hello, Chris Yates with Huddle Productions, and I like to bring you some interesting guests that are thought leaders, and one of the best thought leaders I know, Lou Imbriano, who has been in marketing for decades. CMO of the New England Patriots is a title that most people would be already impressed by. Tell me how you got that role, and then we'll talk about what you're doing now.
Well, you're too generous, Chris. How you been? How you been? Hopefully well.
Oh, it's great, man. Great stuff. You're always a very interesting guest that I've talked to in the past over the years. And
Well,
we met each other on social media. That's how great this new era is.
Yeah, quite. And over a decade ago, it's probably been, right?
Yes, that's about right.
So I was in radio and television, and I was involved in the marketing side for the radio station and building events. And I built this event and produced this event called the Sports Jam. And what I did was bring all the teams in Boston under one roof with all the interactive games. It's very popular now, but back then it was unheard of.
Yeah.
And the Kraft family came to the event, and they saw all the stuff that was going on, all the sponsorships, all the fans having a ball, and they said to me, "Sweetheart, what are you doing this for a radio station? Come work with us."
That's amazing. I never knew that story.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it happened.
And then, so how long did you last with the Patriots? And tell me some of the most interesting stories, either on the field, off the field, or marketing campaigns you did for them.
Sure. I think I was there 9 seasons total.
Wow.
And from 97 to 2006. And oh man, there's so many great stories. I'll tell you one of the things. The bad news about working for the Patriots is I was a huge NFL fan, and I lost my fandom because as you work in sports,
yep,
you go behind the scenes. There isn't all that glitter and shiny stuff when you're rolling up your sleeves. It's business. So I kind of lost my fandom a little bit. But the one thing that always remained, and it never changed, was prior to games, we would bring a whole bunch of people down on the field, and they would have a ball, and they'd take pictures with the owner, and they'd be able to see the players up close and personal. But I always would take one CEO, a VIP, a very important guy,
okay,
and I would walk them into the tunnel prior to the players running out. And then the music would start. The Kamina Barana would start playing, and all of a sudden Ozzy Osbourne would go off, and the players would run out, and they're jumping around, and they're banging on each other's shoulder pads, and it no matter what, no matter how many times I was in there, it gave me goosebumps.
Right.
It gave me goosebumps. And
if it gave you goosebumps and you did it all the time, think about that CEO person.
Well, let's just say it was very rare we didn't close the deal with that CEO.
I bet. Man.
So that was like a fan type of moment. As far as marketing goes, it was great because I got there when we had the old Foxborough Stadium.
Yeah.
And we were looking to build a new stadium. So that whole program in building a brand new stadium, deciding where signage would go, the price of signs, all the packages we put together. It was a learning experience because we were learning on the fly, but we built a pretty good, first of all, the Crafts built a great stadium, but I think we built a great marketing department and a great marketing company when it came to doing all marketing with the Patriots.
Right. And tell me why you got into marketing and why you love it so much. I mean, I can hear your passion a little bit here.
I do love marketing. It's funny. I don't have a PhD in marketing. I didn't get my master's in marketing. I never took a marketing class. Don't tell anybody.
You learn marketing in the real world, man.
I grew up in East Boston, and I went to Boston College. But when I started in radio and television, I was on the programming side. But I started answering phone calls for talk shows, and I started spending time talking to the listeners, seeing what they wanted, what they liked about the station, what they disliked. And the person who was station manager left, and Bev was the person running marketing, And I went to the general manager and I said, let me take over marketing. And he's like, what do you know about marketing? And I said, how hard can it be? And sure enough, after some back and forth, I convinced them to let me look at marketing until they found somebody they could hire. And a couple of years later, I was still running it. And I think the fact that I knew everything about the radio station, that I knew all the aspects, and that I understood the fans, it really made me an intuitive marketer for the radio station. And I just built from there.
That's interesting as heck. Now you've got your own marketing firm. How did you start that? And do you like being on your own, doing your own thing?
You know, first of all, I love being an entrepreneur. I love not having to answer to any bosses but myself, although your clients are always your bosses, right? So I guess you never lose that. But I left the Patriots. I started a sports marketing firm. And in 2008, when everything kind of dried up, I had to pivot to become more mainstream marketing. I wrote a book called Winning the Customer to help in that process.
I remember that book, yeah.
And then I just started consulting as an outside CMO for folks and helping build strategies in marketing. And next thing you know, I met my partner, Nick. Nick and I were both working at survey.com at the time. He was an outside CFO. I was the outside CMO. We hit it off. We started talking about starting Tentacle. And that's what we did. We started Tentacle, and Tentacle evolved into Tentacle Capital, where we provide C-level services to mid-level companies, and there might some small companies, so from $20 million to $100 million annually.
Okay.
And we'll go in and we'll help write their strategy, both marketing, business-wise, operations. He was the CFO for Papagenos for many years.
Okay.
CFO for Cirque. So he has deep-rooted talent in business and finance and understands marketing. I have, I won't call it talent, but experience in marketing, and I understand business and finance. So together we're like a yin and yang, and we form Tentacle Capital, and it's been great. We work with all kinds of companies and helping them, especially when they're plateauing in revenues.
Yeah.
We come in and we help turn that around because we market towards revenues and building customer relationships.
That makes a lot of sense. That's a fun adventure that you're doing. Obviously, my background video, I've been doing video since the early 90s. In marketing, how important in this day and age is video and social media?
Well, it's huge. I mean, right now, I was just talking to one of my guys who runs Facebook for us, all our Facebook operations. And right now, video on Facebook, video ads, is performing much higher than everything else. And Facebook Live is huge. Mm-hmm. It has to be part of everybody's plans, I think. But video in general, if you're a business and you have different services, you have to have a YouTube channel because you have to talk about what your services are.
Right.
The great thing about social media, as you and I know, because this is how we met,
right?
It's a great tool to help you build relationships with your consumers. And video is a great way to do that. I mean, it is the best way to do that, in fact. So I think it's a huge piece of it, Chris.
And the fact that you've adapted too, I mean, me and you are not young kids here, but we've adapted. You have to adapt in this day and age when you're dealing with marketing, don't you?
I don't look bad for 70.
You look great for 60, 50. I don't even know.
I'm not in my 60s. I'm only in my 50s. So I still got a lot of work ahead of me. I'm going to work until I die because I love work. You know, people who retire, they make me crazy because I'm going to go play, fish. They're all bored. I just want to keep the excitement coming. I want to work. I want to work with people. I want to help people. I'm writing another book right now with Elizabeth, our second book.
Okay.
And so I just started a couple of podcasts. I don't call them the business podcast. I call a show. It's called The King and Lou. It's Elizabeth and I do the show, and my wife and I do a food podcast. So my kids are off to college. I'm like empty nest. So I want more to do. I don't want less to do.
That's awesome. What's the next book?
We haven't named it yet, but it's a business book targeted at folks who are leaving the corporate world and wanting to start their own businesses, and entrepreneurs
Okay.
And it's all these little things that we learned over the course of time, starting our own businesses, the mistakes we made, things we shouldn't have done, things that we should have done. And we're trying to help bridge the gap for people starting new companies and new careers in order to see, not to make the same mistakes we made.
Right. And that's the key, man. Making mistakes is okay, right? Is that, I hear that a lot.
Yeah. As long as you learn from your mistakes, it's great. And I think that we've spent a lot of time, we've done a lot of different things. So as you get older, people say to me, "Oh, Lou, how did you know that so quickly?" I said, well, I tried it 6 other times and went the wrong way. So this time it's going the right way.
It's like striking out in baseball. You finally realize how to finally hit the ball.
Yeah,
Louis Imbriano, man, always a pleasure. Always great stories. Congratulations and good luck with all your new ventures.
Yates, thanks very much. It's good to see you, pal.